Shop the Sherwin-Williams Memorial Day sale and get 30% off paints and stains May 15th through the 28th. Whether you're refreshing your interior or exterior, we've got the colors to bring your vision to life. And with delivery, getting everything to your door is easier than ever. Shop online to have it delivered or visit your neighborhood Sherwin-Williams store. Click the banner to learn more. Retail sales only. Some exclusions apply. See store for details. Delivery available on qualifying orders.
And away we go, episode 1333 of the Al Galdi podcast. It is Tuesday, May 26, 2026. We hope that you had a nice Memorial Day weekend. We hope that your Memorial Day weekend was as good as the Memorial Day weekend that the Washington Nationals just had. They went 3-1 in winning 2 out of 3 games at the National League leading Atlanta Braves over Friday through Sunday, and then winning at the American League Central leading Cleveland Guardians 10-2 on Monday evening. And so the Nats in MLB's 2026 regular season now are back to being above 500, 28-27. Latest that the Nats have been above 500 in a regular season since being 40-39 in the 2021 regular season through games on July 1st, 2021. Yes, it has been nearly 5 years since we had what we have right now. The Nats on Monday evening blasted 6 home runs. The Nats on Monday evening got a tremendous outing from starting pitcher Zach Littell as a bulk pitcher, 1 run in 7 innings with 7 strikeouts. The Nats have been through so much during their rebuild, which started with a fire sale in late July 2021. But we right now are in the midst of the best times for the Nats since the rebuild started. If you are a Nats fan, enjoy this. Revel in this. There's a lot to like with this team right now. In-depth analysis of this latest win for the Nats is coming up later in the show. Hello and welcome to this Tuesday installment of the Al Galdi podcast. Next segment, the first of 2 conversations in the coming shows with one of our favorites, Washington Commanders insider Ben Standig of Last Man Standing on Substack. The team on Wednesday will begin OTAs for this offseason. We on this installment of the podcast are going to discuss the QB1, Jayden Daniels, including how much he should/will play in the 2026 preseason, and are going to examine position battles for the team this offseason as OTAs mark the start of offseason practices. We with Ben are going to cover a lot of ground. Ben Standig, next segment, and also on the show, I'll talk Baltimore Orioles. They on Memorial Day afternoon. What a bonkers game. A 9-7, 13-inning win over the Tampa Bay Rays at Oriole Park at Camden Yards on Monday afternoon in a game in which the O's blew a 2-1 8th-inning lead, but overcame a 4-2 11th-inning deficit, a 5-4 12th-inning deficit, and a 7-5 13th-inning deficit. 12 of the game's 16 runs were scored over the 11th through 13th innings. You can hit me up on X at Al Galdi. You can email me the Al Galdi podcast at yahoo.com. And if you on Apple Podcasts, give the podcast a 5-star rating. On the podcast, we'll read whatever you write in writing a review of the podcast. And what you write could be a sports take. You don't just have to write about the podcast. Email from Rich on expectations for the Washington Commanders in the NFL's 2026 season. Writes Rich, Al, in the past, my expectations about the upcoming Washington season of football have been shaped by roster moves, draft picks, coaching changes, areas of weakness, injuries, and media coverage. I saw a list of the 10 worst teams over the last 10 years. Washington was on that list. I realized that my expectations have largely been incorrect. Maybe a better basis for season projections is a statistical analysis. If we take the mean number of wins per year over the last 10 years, we get 6.8 wins. We can describe the NFC playoff season as a variance from the mean. Last year's sharp decline was a regression to the mean. A subset of data that I don't have is the games lost to injury. Last season featured a high number of injuries. It is unlikely that the team will experience the same number of injuries this coming season. As such, a slightly higher number of wins this coming season is likely. A rise back toward the mean is my prediction. Let's ascribe a plus or minus of 1 game either way to estimate 5 to 7 wins. There's a ton of questions on this team. 2 first-time coordinators, 2 first-time play callers. The shortened preseason may work against us. How long will it take for the offense and defense to adjust to the new schemes? Can the new coordinators adjust their schemes to the talent on the field? A slow start seems likely. Who is Terry McLaurin this coming season? Is he realizing that there is merit to the age 30 concerns that he was so offended by last year? Can Mikey Sainer still have a comeback season, or was last season a better indicator of his potential? Will we regret casually releasing our center with no apparent answer at that position? A data-driven, sober approach seems likely a better way to frame my expectations for this coming season. At least doing this will help me keep from being so disappointed. Keep up the good work. This is my first season of Nats Chat. I'm enjoying your work there as well. Well, thank you very much for that, Rich. I am all for data-driven approaches, but the NFL is a league of constant change. The NFL is a league in which each season is an entity unto itself. The NFL is a league in which roster turnover is sky high. So what happened 10, 5, heck, even 3 years ago doesn't matter so much. Now, I get what Rich was saying. We as Washington fans have experienced disappointment so many times for so many years. Ergo, the very underwhelming 6.8 mean for wins over the last 10 regular seasons. And so we want to insulate ourselves from further disappointment. We want to protect ourselves from further disappointment. Disappointment is the big bad monster. We do not want the big bad monster to hurt us anymore. However, the truth is that what happened with Washington 10-5 even 3 years ago doesn't matter now. The last 2 seasons matter, although how much they matter is debatable. And the hope, of course, is that the team this coming season enjoys better injury luck, especially with the QB1, and that the defense off all of the changes is better, and that the team does, as it did 2 seasons ago, makes the playoffs. But I do get the sentiment of not wanting to be disappointed. Trust me, I do. Washington has made the playoffs in just 7 of the last 33 seasons, 1993 through 2025. The 7 playoff seasons over the last 33 seasons, 1999, 2005, 2007, 2012, 2015, 2020, and 2024. Just 7 of our team's last 33 seasons have been playoff seasons. So I don't fault anyone for doing what he or she has to do to stay safe regarding the big bad monster of disappointment. Do what you must to protect yourself from the big bad monster. Hey, please consider subscribing to the podcast if you're not already doing that. Subscribing to the podcast costs nothing. Make sure that you never miss an episode and helps out the podcast a lot. And if you're already subscribing, thank you. Look, choosing life insurance is tricky. Heck, life insurance as a topic can be uncomfortable, but Ethos makes getting life insurance fast and easy 100% online. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. There's no medical exam. You just answer a few simple health questions. You can get up to $3 million in coverage. Some policies are as low as $30 a month. You'll get your lowest rate from Ethos' network of trusted carriers. And know this, Ethos has a rating of 4.8 out of 5 stars on Trustpilot with over 4,000 reviews. Take 10 minutes today to get covered with life insurance through Ethos. Get your free quote at ethos.com/Al Galdi. That's ethos.com/Al Galdi. Ethos.com/Al Galdi. Application times may vary. Rates may vary.
Big thanks to our sponsor, BetterHelp, for partnering with us for this important conversation about mental health.
This is Steve Smith here, former NFL wide receiver and host of the 89 show on YouTube. So having a counselor and working with BetterHelp, that gives you an opportunity to really start to unpack. But people don't understand, when you unpack things, you also open up a box that you're not always sure what's inside. So I think that's why seeing a professional is extremely important. If you need someone to open up to, visit BetterHelp. That's betterhelp.com/89 to get started.
We've all been there. You're away for the weekend, the big game is on, and you realize you're restricted from watching. Or maybe you're trying to check the latest lines on your betting app, but your local network is blocking the site. These are the ultimate unforced errors. You can prevent this from happening to you with IPVanish. IPVanish is the powerhouse VPN designed to keep you in the game no matter where you are. IPVanish helps you stay connected to your favorite team and streaming services while you travel, but it's not just about watching the game. For the bettors out there, IPVanish provides an extra layer of security and privacy that helps you access your account safely on public Wi-Fi. Plus, IPVanish is lightning fast, so you won't have to worry about lag during those crucial live betting moments. Right now, get a massive discount at IPVanish.com. That's IPVanish.com to get started today. Secure your play and go to IPVanish.com. '26 Washington Commanders OTAs will begin this Wednesday, May 27th. The team this week is conducting the first of three-day sessions of OTAs this offseason, May 27th through the 29th. June 2nd through the 4th, and June 9th through the 11th, and the team is conducting a 3-day mandatory minicamp from June 16th through the 18th. OTAs are organized team activities. No live contact is permitted, but 7-on-7, 9-on-7, and 11-on-11 drills are permitted. And OTAs, like the rest of an NFL team's offseason program, with the exception of the mandatory minicamp, are voluntary. Washington is having the first day of each 3-day batch of OTAs open to the media, so this Wednesday's OTA day is open to the media, and the person who will be there is a man who joins me now. It is a pleasure to welcome back to the Al Galdi podcast, Washington Commanders insider Ben Standig of Last Man Standing on Substack. You can read his work at lastmanstanding.substack.com. He also is the host of the Last Man Standing podcast. You can follow Ben on X at Ben Standig, and Ben is joining us for the first of two conversations. We, in the second conversation, are going to address the question of, has Washington done enough to help quarterback Jayden Daniels? But we, in this conversation with Ben, are going to talk Jayden Daniels and preview position battles for Washington in the 2026 offseason, as we now are entering the practice portion of the offseason. Hey, Ben, how are you?
I'm good. I still can't just say X. I still have to say X/Twitter because I can't accept X. It's so stupid.
Well, I'm going to have a talk with my good friend Elon Musk. He owns X. He wants you referring to it by the proper name.
Is this what it's like for the people who don't like the team name here? Is that what it is? Am I doing that bit?
I guess so. So the expectation is that both head coach Dan Quinn and quarterback Jayden Daniels will be speaking to you guys on Wednesday. Something that, to me, never got enough attention was Jayden Daniels this past January 5th during a season-ending session with reporters, revealing that a goal for him in the 2026 offseason was, quote, rebuilding myself from the ground up, end quote. Here was that.
So, that's kind of the focus for me in this offseason. Is just rebuilding myself from the ground up and, hopefully go out there, and that's the most important thing, to be available for my team.
Yeah, Jayden Daniels, quote, rebuilding myself from the ground up, end quote. Also, Dan Quinn and a conversation with NFL insider Josina Anderson of the Exhibit News Network on her podcast, The Exhibit, in an interview that was published on YouTube on March 30th, brought up the idea of Jayden Daniels making sure that he has, quote, enough armor, end quote. So it's going to be interesting to see what Daniels looks like on Wednesday. Now, we know that he last offseason put on some muscle. Did he put on more muscle this offseason? And what exactly did he mean by, quote, rebuilding myself from the ground up, end quote?
Obviously, that's the logical thing since the moment he entered the league. Is he going to be, is his body going to be enough to withstand all the punishment that comes from an NFL game, let alone when you're putting yourself out there as a runner constantly? So I think that, but, I had a preview up on Monday about what looking forward to here at OTAs, what to watch. And obviously Jayden, has he look on the field? It's kind of to your point. What did he do this offseason? Did we notice anything? But also the mental side of things. It's not that he needs it's not that there's any concerns at all. He's, seems to have the respect of all of his teammates and coaches. The work ethic is there. He doesn't say the wrong thing ever. At the same point, quarterback is a position where guys, their voice has extra weight, and do they choose to use it? A lot of guys do. I'm not saying use it like, hey, they better make a trade or I'm gonna blah blah. I don't mean that, but just speak up a little bit more. He's 25. It's not old. I'm not expecting him to have mastered the universe here, but okay, it's another offseason. It was a trying season. Where is his head after last year? Does he come in with a little more, he's very chill, as we said, but does he come in with a little more openness, a little more, to what he's saying, feeling not just be as guarded as he has been. Again, I'm not saying he needs to make headline quotes. I'm just saying I'm curious, like, what is his vibe? And, I think all these quarterbacks go through this eventually. So I'm curious about that because, we saw it both on the field, but also, Drake May, Caleb Williams, all that stuff. Jayden needs to remind people, hey, look over here. And maybe to some degree, he needs to be saying that himself, not just let the play speak for itself.
That's a good point because, as you know, Jayden Daniels with Washington has said next to nothing in his sessions with reporters. He's entering his third NFL season, his age 26 season. He's coming off this injury-ruined 2025 season. Do we now get a more expansive Jayden Daniels?
Yeah, and like when he's, look, I always have to remind myself, like, what would it be like to be sitting at a table, all these people, all these cameras, everybody's asking you a question. Again, he seems pretty comfortable. I definitely don't think it's rude. When he's one-on-one with us, or at least when I've had him a couple times one-on-one, he's been cool. He just also doesn't really like talking about himself. He wants to, when I did a story his rookie year about with him and Malik Neighbors playing for the first time, he was really good at talking about the other guy, but less so about himself. But yeah, I mean, also, like, remember last year, was OTAs or minicamp? One of them. There was a moment where he tossed Ja'Cory Brooks out of the huddle. Whatever, there was some miscommunication. The kid wasn't getting it. Cool. But I wrote about that at the time. This is an interesting sign to see Jayden do that. But now, is he doing it with, not saying throw out of the huddle, but does he now speak up to veteran players who make those mistakes? Like, he isn't just the kid anymore. He is the definitive leader, right? Or, by position, at least, if not by action. So, yeah, I mean, when things go wrong, it doesn't have to be players, just whatever it might be. Does he sort of speak up a bit more? And does that show both in public ways? I think that, to me, is a very interesting development should that occur.
Not to get ahead of ourselves, but considering that Jayden Daniels' last regular season played in just 7 of Washington's 17 games due to getting injured 4 times, and considering that the team has a new offensive coordinator in David Blau, do you think that Daniels in the 2026 preseason should/will play a decent amount? He in the 2025 preseason played in just 1 game and for a total of just 4 snaps. Should/will he play more in the 2026 preseason?
It's funny. Like, I can't remember where you were, but like when he did the flag football thing, and it wasn't like, oh my God, this is a terrible disaster, but it was a lot of holding your breath because what if? And it was not him. The other team was trying their best, and Joe Burrow got hit a little bit. Anyway, that to me would be insane to get hurt at. And while I know historically we've said the same thing about preseason, I don't know if it was Doc Walker or somebody like that I heard once say, the only way to get good at football is to play football. And to some degree, that needs to happen. Now, they do have the 2 joint practices, one with Miami, one with Baltimore on the schedule. If that is truly enough, I'll let the coaches tell me that then, I guess. I mean, last year they only had the 1, right? Because the Baltimore one got canceled. And they get to control that and so on. But yeah, I mean, I do kind of feel like getting him out there because it isn't just him; it's all the other guys. Like if this was the NBA, right? You would say, well, Nikola Jokic doesn't need to play preseason games. Okay, but you can still do all the other stuff, and all the other players can do their thing for the most part. Here, that's not the case. Putting in the backup quarterback, it's not the same thing for Terry McLaurin or the offensive line. So yeah, I would say yes, unless you want to tell me, hey, the 2 joint practices are good enough. They can't take the risk. But I've moved off of like preseason is don't do it because hey, you got to play at some point.
All right, position battles for Washington. Dan Quinn on May 8th during his press conference at the team's rookie minicamp declared a competition at kicker and unsolicited brought up a competition at center. Quote, and so whether we're talking about kicker or center or different spots along the way, we just keep battling for it and we will see it all the way through. End quote. Quinn got asked specifically about kicker, but he unsolicited brought up center. So the competition at kicker, Jake Moody versus Drew Stevens. So you look at center, Nick Allegretti certainly seems to have the inside inside track to be the team's number one center, but the team took Michigan State center/guard Matt Golban in the 6th round of the 2026 NFL Draft and has Julian Good-Jones as an option at center. Did you take that comment from Quinn as there being an open competition at center?
That's how I took it. I just don't know if I'm taking it that the competition is with who's currently here. I mean, look, I'm not, again, I've said taking a center in the 6th round is completely reasonable based on, all positions are important, but based on what, you hear NFL people talk about that the center is a position you can kind of find a guy. We've seen here alone, Chase Rougier was a 6th round pick that, Jeff Bostic way back when was an undrafted free agent. I know that's like 100 years ago, but, so you can do that. Julian Good-Jones, he's played one game in his entire career. He's 29. He's not advanced off the practice squad in the 3 years or so he's been here. So if you're telling me it's an actual competition, I don't know who that is. Now, the only weird one is, and I've not really bought into this, but people said, hey, Brandon Coleman, what if they move Brandon Coleman? Look, you could tell me you're going to try Brandon Coleman at center. I just can't imagine you're going to tell me that Brandon Coleman, who has never done this, is going to be in front of Jayden Daniels week 1 or week anything this year. That would seem to me to be very nuts. I mean, it isn't just like blocking. You also have to do the call out, the signals, point out who's going where. It's a real relationship there, and that would be weird. But that would be the only other thing I could sort of guess if they don't bring in anybody else, because it doesn't feel like they have enough on the roster.
Regarding Brandon Coleman versus Chris Paul for the starting left guard job, is that correct?
I mean, I think so. On the one hand, maybe this has just been unfair to Chris Paul because last year he, came in week 3 and just really took control the rest of the way. There was never any point where it felt like Coleman could get back in based on what Chris Paul was doing. I know they were willing to let him go in free agency and were, I guess, fortunate enough that his market, dried up and that they could get him back for little. But, based on what he did last year, Chris Paul, I think, is the clear answer. On the other hand, if David Blau's system involves more zone blocking and where you want your offensive lineman to get down to that second level on defense, Brandon Coleman is a superior athlete. So that may be also why they were willing to let Chris Paul go, because they thought Coleman was a better fit. So I do think it's a battle. And I think this is the one I think really, to me, depends on what are they looking for Blau's offense.
Much more with Ben Standig in moments, but if you are a Washington Commanders fan, check out bgobsession.com, an outstanding site for discussion about the team, especially as OTAs are getting going. BG Obsession, or BGO, has been going strong since 2009. BG Obsession offers great contests, game day chats, and camaraderie. No politics, just football. Both old school and new school fans are welcome. Visit and join BGO at bgobsession.com. bgobsession.com, home to your burgundy and gold obsession. We are previewing offseason position battles for the Washington Commanders as we speak with Washington Commanders insider Ben Standig of Last Man Standig on Substack. Receiver. So putting aside the possibility of Washington adding a receiver like the San Francisco 49ers' Brandon Ayuk or unrestricted free agent Stephon Diggs, is there competition at receiver, or is there more just like a sorting out of the depth chart beyond Terry McLaurin? Notable receivers for Washington right now are Terry McLaurin, Antonio Williams, Luke McCaffrey, Jalen Lane, Treylon Burks, De'Ami Brown, Van Jefferson, Ja'Cory Brooks, and Jacoby Jones.
Yeah, it's funny. We have talked so much about they've been in 11 personnel the last few years, right? And so I think that's how we're being programmed to view all this. Well, after Terry McLaurin, I don't even know if they have another receiver that you could definitively say go, let alone 2. But I also wonder, in this era where teams are using more 12 and 13 personnel, is it really sort of a competition between John Bates as the blocking tight end versus whoever this third receiver is? Because as it stands right now, like you said, I'm with you. It's like you could shuffle up all the names between 2 to 7, and I'd be like, sure. I mean, again, they De'Ami Brown offers the speed, and so does Jalen Lane from the slot, and Treylon Burks has got the vertical ability and whatever. But nobody is a complete receiver. So I do kind of wonder if we're going to see more 12 personnel for part of that reason. But to your main point, because I'm meandering here, one thing I also wrote in the preview was these sessions are not just about like it's about the players here showing the staff you don't need to do any more or you do need to do more, which is always why last year I was so surprised they didn't do more at receiver when it became pretty clear to me, especially when Noah Brown got hurt, that they didn't have enough. But yeah, I think that as we know, there's a big elephant in the room. We don't know what's going to happen with who they're going to add or when's that going to happen. So that is the big deal.
Tight end. Washington kept 4 tight ends on the team's initial 53-man roster for last season. That would seem very likely for this coming season, given the expectation that David Blau is going to go with a lot of multiple tight end sets. The team's top 4 tight ends are Chigakonkwo, John Bates, Ben Sinnott, and Colson Yankoff. But there is also Lawrence Cager.
Dan Quinn's talked up Lawrence Cager a little bit, and physically, I get it. I mean, he looks like one of those guys you're like, oh, what all pro team is he on? On the other hand, he's not 22. I forget how old he is, but he's like over 25, I think 26. I mean, he's a little bit older. So, again, it's sort of like, well, I'm not saying people can't improve, of course, but, where is it? So, yeah, and also like Colson Yankoff, I did that story last year about asked the players to say who was like the best actual athlete on the whole team. And I thought Colson Yankoff might win. He was one of he got multiple votes. Ultimately, Tyler Owens won. But Colson Yankoff is a crazy athlete. And, he was learning to play tight end. He played all other positions in college. So I'm curious to see where he is in the development. But yeah, I would assume right now it's the 4 that were there last year. But again, I don't know if they're talking up Cager for real or something to try to maybe push some others in that room.
Running back. Washington kept 4 running backs on the team's initial 53-man roster for last season. If the team keeps 4 backs on the initial 53 for this coming season, we're looking at 6 guys battling for 4 spots: Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, Rashad White, Jerome Ford, Jeremy McNichols, Katron Allen, and Robert Henry Jr., an undrafted free agent out of UTSA, the University of Texas at San Antonio. But, of course, Washington could keep just 3 backs on the initial 53.
To your point, are they going to keep 3 or 4 guys? You would think that Katron Allen would be the 3rd guy, just that keep draft picks and based on his style, the bigger guy that that would fit with what they have. The McNichols part, like every time I think, it's like Freddy Krueger or Jason or something. Like every time you think, nah, this is it, he somehow sticks around. He's solid at everything. He's very reliable. If obviously Rashad White's been around, but Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt and Katron Allen would have a combined 1 year of NFL experience. So yeah, I mean, I think that's conceivable to keep 4, but obviously it's the game of, well, then where are you taking the position from? So like when I've done my initial 53, I am sort of sticking with 3, but acknowledging that I'm not ruling out McNichols. I just don't. Some other position's going to have to. If some other position has a problem, I just feel like the running back is where it's going to get taken from.
Quarterback. We've gotten used to Washington having 3 quarterbacks on the 53-man roster, has done so for each of the first 2 seasons with Adam Peters as general manager and Dan Quinn as head coach. But the QB3 for each season was a veteran. Jeff Driscoll in 2024, Josh Johnson in 2025. With the QB3 battle being a battle between Ethan Kaliak-Manis, who the team took in the 7th round of the draft out of Rutgers, and Sam Hartman, might it be that the team keeps just 2 quarterbacks on the initial 53 for the 2026 season and practice squads the QB3?
I don't know. I mean, like me personally, I would always try to keep 3. So is Dan Quinn trying to do that? I mean, obviously the last, they haven't kept the 3rd guy as a developmental piece. They've kept a vet. It was Jeff Driscoll the first year, Josh Johnson mostly last year. So I don't know. I mean, I am kind of wondering, what is the plan here with Sam Hartman? I get the Jayden Daniels part of it, but you can't. That can't be that friendship can't be a reason to keep him around. And I don't feel like Kaliak-Manis. Like, let's just say he was the 3rd string and the world fell out. They're going to go sign the Jeff Driscoll anyway, right? There's no way they're playing. I mean, unless a kid comes in as it turns into Brock Purdy, but like that doesn't seem likely. So I feel like it's still conceivable that Jeff Driscoll or somebody like that shows up if they decide, hey, we're going to move on from Hartman because we think this other kid is either the 3rd guy or the practice squad guy. So that would be my question. If it's based on the current 4, then I think you might be right because, again, there's no way they're keeping. There's no way they would use the kid if he actually had to. If they actually needed a quarterback. And I can't imagine the 7th round pick is going to get claimed on waivers. So, that would be my. If they stay with this 4, they may only go to 2.
Position battles on Washington's defense are tricky because there are so many possibilities, especially with the expectation of the new defensive coordinator, Durante Jones, going with a Brian Flores-style defense. Specific to linebacker, though, the team's linebackers are Sonny Styles, Leo Chanel, Frankie Louvu, Jordan McGee, Kane Medrano, Nick Bellore, and Ale Cajo. In terms of the top 4, Styles, Chanel, Louvu, and McGee, might there be an odd man out here given that teams in the modern NFL usually play just 2 linebackers at a time?
And honestly, I'm intrigued to see, in terms of guys, how they develop. I want to see Kane Medrano because stylistically, he's exactly what they need. And I thought he made some plays last year, but, he was just still learning how to play and tackle, things like that. The other day, I've been asked now a couple times, like, who is this year's Brian Robinson? Who's the guy that, we think is going to be on the team and then suddenly isn't? And I've been saying, I'm not saying he's definitely the guy, but I'm curious to see what happens with Quan Martin, because obviously on the one hand, he's very athletic. Seems like he'd be a really good fit for what this Durante Jones plan is, but got benched twice last year, seemed to be a bit lost at times in coverage. So how does that play out? But then people have asked me, what about Frankie Louvu? And I'm kind of like, well, I don't know. They always say, you can never have enough pass rushers. I'm not saying he's a quote unquote pass rusher per se, but obviously he did have 8.5 sacks that first year. We know he plays a lot of energy, but he is going to the last year of his deal. And that is the question, right? If they want 3 true down linemen on the field, meaning like Daron Payne, Tim Settle, Javon Kinlaw, something to that effect, then that means Owe and Chason are playing essentially outside linebacker, which would put 2 guys in the middle. Now, obviously, if they keep rotating, it's not a huge deal, but, on some level, that would mean what? Chanel and Styles in the middle, or Styles and Louvu, right? So there is a potential for an odd man out, especially if Jordan McGee and maybe Medrano look like they're good enough to be in the rotation. So I really do feel it's almost like more of like a battle of Tim Settle versus the 3rd linebacker to a degree. Because if you get rid of him, then the 2 edge guys go on the end, and then you have the 3 linebackers. So that to me is part of the interesting thing. And again, I understand they'll keep rotating and blah blah blah, but at some point you do, like when Mike Tirico is on television and they're going through the lineup. What's the lineup?
For sure. Washington Commanders insider Ben Standig of Last Man Standing on Substack. Ben, thanks, and we'll talk soon.
Always appreciate it, Al. Thanks.
All right, catering by Uptown. Whatever big event that you're planning, a wedding, a party, whatever, consider using a great sponsor of this podcast, Catering by Uptown. Visit cateringbyuptown.com and make sure that you mention that Al Galdi sent you. Catering by Uptown is outstanding. It is a family business. It is run by the Pereiras, who are great Washington Commanders fans. Catering by Uptown is committed to meeting your every need with elegance and precision. Catering by Uptown takes care of every detail so that you can enjoy your event. And Catering by Uptown's specialty is weddings. Get excellent service at an affordable price. In fact, if you visit cateringbyuptown.com and click on venues, you could check out Catering by Uptown's premier wedding venues. Visit cateringbyuptown.com and make sure that you mention that Al Galdi sent you. That's cateringbyuptown.com and make sure that you mention that Al Galdi sent you. The Washington Nationals now are above 500 at the latest point in a regular season since being 40-39 through games on July 1st, 2021. A 10-2 win at the Cleveland Guardians on Monday evening, Memorial Day evening, in Game 1 of a 3-game series. This was a game in which the Nats smashed 6 home runs, and the Nats in MLB's 2026 regular season now are 28-27 with a run differential of -6. I cannot say enough good things about what this team is doing in this season number 1 of a restarted rebuild. And that phrase right there is so key. Restarted rebuild. The expectations for this team in this regular season were so low. This team right now is so far above what those expectations were. As you likely know, I am a big fan and big believer in the Nats' new analytics-based process, led by President of Baseball Operations Paul Taboni, General Manager Anirudh Colombi, and Manager Blake Butera. And so far, so very good for the process. Trust the process. And the Nats on Monday evening hammered a good Guardians team. The Guardians in this regular season, even with this loss, are an American League Central best 32-24 with an American League Central best run differential of plus 15. But the Nats offense, again, was outstanding. 10 runs, 15 hits, which were 6 home runs, 2 doubles, and 7 singles, 1 walk, 2 for 8 with runners in scoring position. The Nats did strike out 11 times, but that doesn't matter when you hit 6 home runs. The Nats hit a whopping 5 homers off Guardian starting pitcher Tanner Bybee, who allowed 7 runs in 3 innings. And Tanner Bybee is a pretty good pitcher. He came into the game with an ERA of 3.75 over 11 games, all starts in this regular season. But the Nats on Monday evening humbled Tanner Bybee. The Nats' 6 homers in this game came from 5 guys. James Wood, he is the Nats starting DH and number 1 batter, went 4 for 5 with a solo homer and 3 singles. Wood in the Nats' 3-run first had a leadoff homer to right center field for a 1-0 Nats lead despite having been down in the count at 1.12. The homer went a projected 412 feet per StatCast. James Wood for this regular season now has an OPS of 938, number 1 among all qualified Nats players. Number 2 is CJ Abrams at 924. He is the Nats starting shortstop and number 4 batter, went 1 for 4 with a solo homer. Abrams in the Nats 1-run third had a leadoff homer to right field for a 7-1 Nats lead. That homer went a projected 403 feet per StatCast. Curtis Mead hit 2 homers. He is the Nats starting third baseman and number 3 batter, went 2 for 5 with a 2-run homer and a solo homer. Mead in the Nats 3-run first had a 2-run homer to left field for a 3-0 Nats lead despite having been down in the count at 1.02. The homer went a projected 401 feet per StatCast, and Mead in the Nats 1-run fifth had a 1-out solo homer to left field on an 0-2 pitch for an 8-2 Nats lead. Curtis Mead for this regular season now has an OPS of 844. How good has this guy been? The Nats this past March 28th announced having traded a minor league catcher, Boston Smith, to the Chicago White Sox for Curtis Mead. I'd say that trade looks pretty good right now. Again, trust the process. Luis Garcia Jr., he had 4 RBI. He is the Nats starting first baseman and number 2 batter, went 3 for 5 with a 2-run homer, a double, and a 2-run single. Garcia in the Nats 3-run second had a 2-out 2-run homer to right field for a 6-0 Nats lead, and Garcia in the Nats 2-run sixth had a 2-out bases loaded full count 2-run single up the middle for a 10-2 Nats lead. Luis Garcia for this regular season now has an OPS of 719, and Jacob Young homered again. This is something what's happening with Jacob Young. He is the Nats starting center fielder and number 7 batter, 2 for 4 with a solo homer and a single. Young in the Nats 3-run second had a leadoff homer to left field for a 4-0 Nats lead despite having been down in the count at 1.12. As his home run surge continues, Jacob Young came into this regular season with 5 home runs, over 1,006 career MLB regular season plate appearances. Young in this regular season now has 7 home runs, over 187 plate appearances. Again, trust the process. Here was Blake Butera during his post-game session with reporters on Monday night, and then you'll hear multiple follow-up exchanges as his team now is above 500.
It's fun winning baseball games. I'll leave it at that. Yeah, like I said, ultimately the record doesn't really matter until the end of the year. But at the end of the day, just having games like this, the way we've been playing lately, just keep stacking good game after good game. Look up a couple months down the road and see where we're at. But at the end of the day, just happy with the win, happy with the way we're playing.
How good does it feel to have the offense not only get off to that hot start, 3 runs in the first inning, but continue to pile on, continue to, the homers, but also just like 2-out hits and getting those crucial hits with runners in scoring position?
Yeah, it's just so impressive. The at-bats from start to finish. Obviously, coming out of the gates hot like that against an arm like Bybee is not easy. And the way we kind of set the tone early on and gave our pitching some room to breathe a little bit there, and then they continued to pile it on outside of the first inning and just made it that much easier for us.
You've known Curtis Mead for a while, and you've spoken about his potential he's had, but to see him do this, have a 2-homer night, and the season he's having so far, what has it been like?
Couldn't be happier for him to get this opportunity and some runway to play a lot. It's hard. The spot he was in, to be the guy that comes off the bench, maybe goes a few days without playing, then gets in there, and to be able to get him some rhythm and some comfort at the plate, some extended playing time, I think goes a long way to help him, one, get some confidence, and two, get into that rhythm of everyday at-bats, and hopefully, build off the success.
Is it tough to not take James Wood's power for granted out of the leadoff spot?
Yeah. I mean, what he can do is pretty unbelievable. There aren't many people in this game that can do the things that he can do with the bat. The ability he has to lay off pitches, to work walks, and then obviously we can see what he does with the power he has to all fields. He's fun to watch hit.
I know rhythm is important for any hitter to find. For Curtis in particular, where have you seen that show up? Is it like the walk to strikeout rate? Is it the power? I
think a little bit of everything. I think his ability to get on base has been really good. He's also hitting some tough luck early on in the year. He's hitting some balls really hard right at people. I think the way that he impacts the ball and his ability to still walk and get on base, that combination is just awesome.
I know a major emphasis for him since last year was, being able to showcase his raw power by getting that launch angle of what have you seen from him in terms of hitting balls hard and also hitting them in the air?
Yeah, he does a really good job of getting balls at the right angles. But also into that is he's so smart and prepared going into at-bats that he kind of knows how he's going to be getting pitched and knows what he's looking for, and he's really stubborn to his approach. And it's not easy to do that, especially when you haven't had the amount of plate appearances or at-bats that some of these other guys that have played, 5+ years in the big leagues have to learn some of those skills. But to be able to do it at the age that he is, it's really impressive.
Yeah, and the Nats for this regular season are number 1 in MLB in runs scored, 298. Also are dead last in MLB in runs allowed, 304. But the offense has been so good. You could always reach me on X at Al Galdi. From John Granlund on X writes, John, the Nats are 34, 18, and 3 if you took the over in each game, and now are 34 and 21 versus the number. To say this is unexpected would be a huge understatement. Thank you for that, John. Absolutely. Hopefully you guys are making some money off what the Nats are doing. Meantime, the Nats pitching, which was so good in the team winning 2 out of 3 games at the Atlanta Braves over Friday through Sunday, was good in this 10-2 win at the Guardians on Monday evening. The Nats in this game used an opener who was relief pitcher P.J. Poulin. He allowed 1 run in 2 innings as he in the bottom of the second gave up a leadoff homer by Rhys Hoskins to left field to cut the Nats lead to 6-1. And then starting pitcher Zach Littell came into the game to serve as the Nats bulk pitcher, and he pitched the rest of the game. Littell was terrific. He allowed 1 run in 7 innings with 7 strikeouts. He gave up 5 hits, which were 2 doubles and 3 singles. He issued 2 walks. He threw a lot of pitches and a lot of strikes, 106 pitches, but 70 strikes versus just 36 balls. Zach Littell got off to a really rough start in this regular season. 6 games, including 5 starts, ERA of 7.85, whip of 1.74. But how about Littell now in this month of May? 5 games, including 2 starts, ERA of 2.19, whip of 0.97. Note what is happening here. The Nats have taken 2 veteran starting pitchers who had been reeling in Miles Mikolas and Zach Littell and have gotten them on track. Miles Mikolas through April had an ERA of 8.23 and a whip of 1.72 over 7 games, including 4 starts in this regular season. But he in this month of May, over 4 games, including 2 starts, has an ERA of 3.26 and a whip of 0.93. One more time, the process. One more time, trust the process. I so love what is happening with the Nats right now. Regarding Nats relievers, so the team on Monday evening announced having acquired a left-handed reliever, Carson Palmquist, from the Colorado Rockies in exchange for cash considerations. Also announced having optioned him to AAA Rochester, and announced having transferred relief pitcher Max Kranick to the 60-day interlist. The Nats on May 5th announced having agreed with Kranick as a free agent on a one-year major league contract with a club option for the 2027 season, and announced having put him on the 15-day interlist. This due to recovery from right elbow surgery. Kranick underwent Tommy John surgery on his right elbow in June 2022 and underwent right flexor tendon surgery in July 2025. So Paul Taboni continuing to make a bunch of roster moves regarding the bullpen. Game 2 for the Nats at the Guardians Tuesday evening at 6:10. The Nats have listed Cade Cavalli as their probable starting pitcher for the game. Look, choosing life insurance is tricky. Heck, life insurance as a topic can be uncomfortable, but Ethos makes getting life insurance fast and easy 100% online. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. There's no medical exam. You just answer a few simple health questions. You can get up to $3 million in coverage. Some policies are as low as $30 a month. You'll get your lowest rate from Ethos' network of trusted carriers. And know this, Ethos has a rating of 4.8 out of 5 stars on Trustpilot with over 4,000 reviews. Take 10 minutes today to get covered with life insurance through Ethos. Get your free quote at ethos.com/Al Galdi. That's ethos.com/Al Galdi. Ethos.com/Al Galdi. Application times may vary. Rates may vary. It was last Monday through Wednesday, May 18th through the 20th, that the Baltimore Orioles got swept in a 3-game series at the Tampa Bay Rays by a combined score of 25-10, including a gut-wrenching loss last Wednesday afternoon, May 20th, a 5-3 loss at the Rays in a game in which the O's blew a 3-1 eighth-inning lead by allowing 4 runs in the bottom of the 8th. Well, the O's on Monday afternoon, Memorial Day afternoon, began a 3-game series against the Rays at Oriole Park at Camden Yards, and the result was a wild win, a 9-7, 13-inning win over the Rays in a game in which the O's blew a 2-1 eighth-inning lead, but overcame a 4-2 11th-inning deficit, a 5-4 12th-inning deficit, and a 7-5 13th-inning deficit. 12 of the game's 16 runs were scored over the 11th through 13th innings. The game lasted for 4 hours and 12 minutes. This was some win for the O's, who in MLB's 2026 regular season now are 24-30. The Rays in this regular season now are an American League best 34-17, tied with the Atlanta Braves for the best winning percentage in MLB. The Orioles relief pitching on Monday afternoon was not good. 6 Orioles relievers combined to allow 6 runs, 3 earned in 7 innings. Also, we saw more sloppiness by the O's, including 2 runners getting picked off and center fielder Leody Taveras committing a fielding error in the Rays' 1-run 8th. But the Rays committed 4 errors, and the Orioles offense came through. The O's in this game, 9 runs, 12 hits, which were a home run, a double, and 10 singles, 6 walks, 6 for 18 with runners in scoring position. The O's scored 7 runs over the 11th through 13th innings, including 4 runs in the bottom of the 13th. And how about the man known as the Milkman, Colton Cowser? He hit a walk-off home run for a second time in 3 games and for a second consecutive day. Cowser came into the game as a pinch hitter, then played right field. He went 1 for 4 with a walk-off 2-run homer. Cowser in the Orioles' 4-run 13th had a walk-off, 1 out, 2-run homer to right center field for a 9-7 Orioles win. The homer went a projected 425 feet per StatCast. Here was the call from Kevin Brown on Masson.
He's dancing off the bag. Fly ball, Colton Cowser. Deep right center. Mullins back at the wall. He did it again! Back-to-back days! Walk-off home runs for Cowser! 8! The milk cold!
Ain't the milk cold? I like that. As many of you know, that would be a modified version of the famous phrase from legendary Orioles play-by-play announcer Chuck Thompson. Ain't the beer cold? But yeah, Colton Cowser in the Orioles' 5-3 walk-off win over the Detroit Tigers at Oriole Park at Camden Yards on Sunday afternoon. In game one of a doubleheader, came into the game as a pinch hitter, then played left field. He went 1 for 2 with a walk-off 3-run homer. The milkman is delivering. Now, Cowser overall is having a really bad 2026 regular season. OPS of just .603, even with these 2 walk-off homers, but some very good signs over these last 2 days. So here was O's manager Craig Albernaz during his post-game press conference on Monday evening, and then you hear a follow-up exchange between O's insider Rich Dubroff of BaltimoreBaseball.com and Albernaz.
I wouldn't say not a lot to unpack. It's definitely a crazy game. I'm just so proud of our guys to keep fighting, scoring. They kept on scoring the top, and we kept on answering. At any point, our guys didn't waver. They kept competing, kept giving great at-bats, and just set up Cowser to do it again. And it was a great team win. I'm proud of our guys.
Before yesterday, Cowser was 1 home run and then two game-winning home runs. Are you seeing just more and more confidence from him?
I hope so. Two shots like that, but his confidence has been there, like we talked about, since Kansas City and he really started to feel his swing and get comfortable. And he had some after a couple tough stretches, but he stuck with his process, stuck with the work, and now we get to see that come to fruition right now. And his at-bats have been better as of late, but outstanding right now.
And also doing well in this 9-7 13-inning win over the Rays at Oriole Park at Camden Yards on Monday afternoon was Pete Alonso. He is the Orioles starting first baseman and number 4 batter, went 3 for 5 with an RBI single, 2 other singles, and a walk. Alonso for this regular season now has an OPS of .760, including for this month of May, having an OPS of .882. The Orioles starting pitcher on Memorial Day afternoon was Kyle Bradish. He was good for a 4th consecutive outing. He allowed 1 run in 6 innings, gave up 5 hits, which were a home run, a double, and 3 singles, issued 2 walks, recorded just 3 strikeouts through 92 pitches, 59 strikes, 33 balls. But very encouraging what we are seeing from Kyle Bradish lately. He, over his first 7 games, all starts in this regular season, was really bad. ERA of 5.03, whip of 1.82. But he, over his last 4 games, all starts, has been really good. Bradish in the Orioles' 4-3 loss to the Athletics at Oriole Park at Camden Yards on May 8th, 3 runs in 7 innings, 10 strikeouts, 1 walk. Bradish in the Orioles' 7-0 win over the New York Yankees at Oriole Park at Camden Yards on May 13th. 6 scoreless innings, 7 strikeouts. Bradish in the Orioles' 4-1 loss at the Tampa Bay Rays on May 19th. 2 runs in 5 1/3 innings, 6 strikeouts, and now we have what he did on Memorial Day afternoon. Kyle Bradish was great in the 2023 regular season. He, in June 2024, underwent Tommy John surgery on his right elbow, but he at the major league level in the 2025 regular season, over 6 games, all starts, was very good. And he lately has been very good, of having struggled over those first 8 starts of this regular season, in which he now has these stats: 11 games, all starts, ERA of 3.86, whip of 1.47, strikeouts per 9 innings of 9.41. A big win for the O's on Memorial Day afternoon. We, during Craig Albernaz's postgame press conference on Monday evening, had this exchange.
We talked in Tampa and after New York about gut punches, but losses that really felt heavy. On the flip side of it, a win like this against a team in the Rays, how uplifting can that be for this group and something that it can build off of moving forward?
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely uplifting. In the sense of kept on getting punched and we didn't waver. We kept on having great at-bats, and it's tough when the visiting team, I wouldn't say has the advantage, but they put up 2 now you're chasing, or put up 1, and our guys did a great job of not trying to do too much and having great at-bats and passing the baton to the next guy. I couldn't be more proud of this group.
All right, Game 2 for the O's against the Rays at Oriole Park at Camden Yards, Tuesday evening at 6:35. The O's have listed Shane Baz as their probable starting pitcher for the game. And that'll do it for you and me for now, but there's more to come. Wednesday's show, episode 1334, will include a lot for you on the Washington Commanders. Also on Wednesday's show, I'll talk Washington Nationals and Baltimore Orioles. The Nats are at the Cleveland Guardians Tuesday evening at 6:10 for Game 2 of a 3-game series. The O's are home to the Tampa Bay Rays Tuesday evening at 6:35 for Game 2 of a 3-game series. Have a great rest of your Tuesday, and I'll talk to you on Wednesday.
So, that's kind of the focus for me in this offseason. Is just rebuilding myself from the ground up and, hopefully go out there, and that's the most important thing, to be available for my team.